Hey there, and welcome to my channel, and welcome to another episode of Crochet Tips. Holly already got over. When she sees the camera, she's done, but I'm still here. So a few days ago, I received another comment that made me go for another round of crochet tips. Thank you so much for all your positive feedback on the first episode. And that comment basically was about my solid granny square tutorial, the ultimate. And the viewer wanted to know if the solid granny square could be used as a dishwash cloth. And my answer was, of course, absolutely. So of course you can use the solid granny square as a dishwash cloth, and to show you a little bit how to do that, because I can totally understand that when you're a beginner and you see all those YouTube videos showing patterns and different techniques, you might wonder, okay, now I have a solid granny square, what do I do with it? Because of course you could go for a bag like I did it. Luckily it's all here. Today I'm not on the messy sofa, I'm on the messy ground in front of the sofa. But sometimes you just want to have like a small little in-between project, and that person also mentioned that they wanted to gift it to their mom. Mother's Day is way ahead, and Father's Day here in Germany as well. So you can always have one for the mom, one for the dad, of course. And the only thing that's important if you want to use the solid granny square as a dishwash cloth, or for dishwash cloths in general, is that you would definitely use a cotton yarn. The size of the yarn or the thickness doesn't really matter. This one is a 8/6 quality cotton yarn, and it's very squishy, so you can, when you make it wet, easily scrub your dishes with it and clean it up. But the most important thing is that when you use a cotton yarn, you can actually wash it in the washing machine. You can even flat iron it, so that it's always more hygienic. And of course you don't need any more plastics. It's good for our environment as well. So I decided to make another round of crochet tips showing you how to transform a solid granny square into a dishwash cloth. It even has a hanger, so you can hang it out to dry in the sun or whatever, and use it whenever you need it, and when it's dirty, clean it up. And instead of just showing you how to make one solid granny square dishwash cloth by adding a border and a hanger, I'm actually going to show you 3 different options. So the regular, like this, then I added a little heart here and on the other side to make it a bit more special. As I said, Mother's Day is right around the corner, and it's just a beautiful handmade gift for your mom or your aunt, your uncle, whatever. And then the third option would be to make the solid granny square in different colors. So I'm going to show you exactly how to change the color in some of the rounds to get like an even prettier 3-colored solid granny square dishwash cloth. And if you want to know how to make this ultimate solid granny square, check the link in the description. I'm trying to get like a miniature of it somewhere here or here. I'm not sure if I can make that, but it's in the description, so feel free to check it out, otherwise you won't be able to make them. So let's get to it, but before we do, as always, make sure to like this video and to subscribe to my channel so you don't miss any of the future crochet tips and all the other videos that I'm going to post. And maybe a glimpse of Holly. Holly, come on. And let's get to it. So here we go with option number 1. It looks like this. It's basically the ultimate solid granny square. Here I used a little bit thinner cotton yarn, but still 100% cotton. So the way to go from the ultimate solid granny square to a dishwash cloth is basically to add a final round of single crochets all around and adding a little hanger on one of the four sides, so you can easily hang it to dry, for example. And as you can see, the structure is very nice. It has a very good grip, so you can definitely clean all your dishes with it. And here's how to do it. Ta-da! If you have followed the ultimate granny square, this is basically where you would end before closing everything. And now we are going to add the border with single crochets. And the way how we do that is very easy. So we stop here, chain 2, because we want to have like a full border. And then we are going into the top of our fake double crochet right here and make our first single crochet. So you pull the hook in that first stitch, pull the yarn through, 2 loops on your hook, yarn over and pull the yarn through, and you have your first single crochet. And you continue with single crochets all around. So the effect of the single crochet is really that it gives it some sort of stability, basically, and keeps the form. And I think for final projects, it's always nice to have like just a little border, a little refinement around it. So a border of single crochets will do just that. And it's super easy. And it transforms your ultimate solid granny square with just one additional round into a dishwash cloth. So now I reached my first corner, and for this corner what I'm going to do is to place 3 single crochets within that same corner space. So pull the hook in, pull the yarn through, and yarn over and pull through. This was the first, this is the second, and the third. So this like goes along the quarter of a circle and our corner. Then we go along with single crochets. Here we go. I'm at the second corner, and here is actually the space where I'm going to place the hanger. So for that, I'm making 1 single crochet in that corner space, and then I'm going to chain 12. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. And now I'm going to connect those 12 stitches right back into our corner space. So you just take it as it is, put it into the space, and we make another single crochet to close it. And just like that, you created a little hanger. Of course, if you want to have a longer hanger, you can always chain more, but I think 12 is just fine. And the second corner is finished, and we can continue with the single crochets all along our next corner will be like the first one, so 3 single crochets in that corner. Here we go, corner number 3, and we make 3 single crochets in there. And then we are already heading back to the start. So I reached the last corner, or the first corner, just like as you want. And again, we are making 3 single crochets all in that corner. And then we are going to cut the yarn. Pull the yarn through. And then instead of going into that first stitch, like our first single crochet that we did, we are again going into the second one, pulling the yarn through and going from the top into our last, to close everything and so that it looks invisible. And then we can pull the yarn through in the back. Same thing as we did with the ultimate granny square. And I'm just going to pull it through a few stitches. Oh great, now I lost the yarn. So again, I'm going through a few stitches. Make sure to also stab some right through, because that will always help to keep the yarn where it is. And I'm going back a few stitches. Stretch it a little bit, and then we can cut it. And we can also cut all the other yarn ends that are still there. And the cloth is done. So this is the easiest way to go from the solid granny square into a dishwash cloth, and they both look beautiful, no blocking required. And here you have one for Mother's Day and already one for Father's Day, because fathers can wash dishes too, right? So let's continue with option number 2. So option number 2 basically works the same way like option number 1. So our base is still our solid granny square. There are just 2 things that are different. So the border around it is the same. I won't show that for this, and also how to make the hanger. What's different about this solid granny square is that I incorporated 2 hearts in there as well, which I think look very pretty and very cute. And this shows that you, even with like a solid texture, like with all those double crochets all along, you can still create variations of it by adding symbols, elements, and it's actually quite easy to do those spots here, those little holes, to create like the heart, and I'll show you how to make them. So the main difference between the ultimate solid granny square that I made the tutorial for, and this one where we would like to incorporate those little hearts, is also in the base. As you can remember, the ultimate solid granny squares works with clusters of 4 double crochets in the first round, and since 4 is a bit hard to divide in a way that I only have like one peak spot here for the heart, I made the solid granny square with a base of 3 double crochets instead, so you can always be flexible. It makes the granny square also a bit more loose and a bit more soft and fluid and less dense within the different lines or rounds that we have. So if you want to incorporate a symbol or an element in it that has like an irregular number of counts, I mean, for the heart we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, so it's an uneven number, so you definitely have to switch to a base of 3, but that's no issue because the end result looks equally pretty. So when you have your base like this, and here I already slip stitched in it, I start exactly the same way like I did before, and I start with the fake double crochet as the first stitch of round number 2 in that case, and then I have the second stitch, which is then a regular double crochet. Then I'm going into the first stitch, which is a bit hidden here, and make the next double crochet. And now we've come to the part where there would be our first hole here, or our first space here, and we do that by skipping the next stitch, making a chain 1, and then we make our next double crochet in the next stitch right after that. So basically we had like those 3 in the beginning, we are adding 2 to the left and leaving 1 in the middle, and then we have 2 more double crochets. Just like this. Then we are in the next corner, and for this cloth here, the sides are always the regular solid granny square. Of course you can add the hearts on each side, but I thought it would look then a bit too loose to see through, and you still want to have like some structure or fabric so that you can actually clean your dishes. And chain 2 in the corner and 2 more double crochets. I'll show you now the next. So again, we have our 3 double crochets from the previous round. We make 1 double crochet in the first one and 1 in the last one, and have a gap in the center by making a chain 1. So here's the first double crochet, then we chain 1, and then we make a double crochet in the next stitch, just like this, and you created your next hole. And there we can continue and finish the round. As always, 2 double crochets, chain 2, 2 more double crochets, all in that corner space. Then in that case, 3 double crochets in the 3 stitches from the previous round.
Put on it. Anyway. Regular. Two.
Here we go. Then we chain 1 and go into the top of our fake double crochet, yarn over, pull it through. Again, I'm using my finger to create like a little bit of space in here, and then we can close it and we can start with the next round. So I make the fake double crochet first again, and another double crochet right next to it. And then here we have now 3 stitches, and here we had our last hole. So we are going to make 1 double crochet in the first stitch. Then we want to have another hole, so we chain 1 and make another double crochet after the one that we skipped. And now when we are going into that space, we can easily go all the way through, completely in that space, and make our next double crochet. Then we have our 3rd double crochet, and here comes then the next space. So we chain 1 and go into the 3rd of our double crochets from the previous round. And to finish this side, 2 more double crochets, chain 2, and we have 1 solid side now waiting. And I'm going to show you the next one before leaving you to it. So make sure to then later on press pause so you see where to put those spaces in. But usually you can see it very well, and this is basically the most simple way of doing a sort of a pixel heart.
Yeah.
See, we'll go to them.
Here we go, our next corner. Chain 2. And 2 more double crochets in that corner space. And now we have again 3 double crochets. So we make 1 double crochet in the next one. Then we skip 1, so we chain 1, and then we go into the 3rd to create our hole. Then here we have the hole from the round before. We go in there and make a double crochet. Then another double crochet in the next stitch. Then we want to have another hole, so we chain 1 and make a double crochet in the last one. So here you have already the peak of the heart, so it's right here. And this is basically how you would continue all along until your heart is finished. After the heart comes one full round, and then around it the same finish like we did it before with the single crochets and creating the hanger. And this was option number 2. And we're good to go to continue with option number 3. So, of course, you can always incorporate color or change the color throughout your dishwash cloth to make it a bit more special. And I had 2 rounds in this lighter grayish blue, then 3 rounds of this darker blue, and 1 round of this middle blue, plus the border with single crochet, so the border is the same. And I'm going to show you now how to change the color, and for that we are only going into the back loops of the previous stitches, only for the rounds where we are going to change the color, and that way you get like a softer border, I would say. If you would go through the stitches completely, then it would be like more zigzag, but this one personally I prefer a little bit more, and I show you how to do that. So here I already made like my centerpiece, those 2 rounds of the solid granny square, and we could just continue like this and then add the color somewhere, but I thought for this pattern and also the way the color changes, because I want to have it like on both sides similar, without any yarn peeking through at some point. So I'm actually going to cut the yarn, which is something I usually don't do in projects like this. And now, instead of like connecting it like we did it before, we are going to chain 2. And then we are going to pull the yarn through. And again, we are going to sew in the end yarn in here, so that it later on will be invisible. And we are going to get a real stitch with like both parts of the V, so we can easier work in the back loop. Because if we would do the slip stitch in the top of our fake double crochet, which is here, then the first stitch in the new color would look always a bit odd. And this is why I'm doing it this way. Of course, you have to cut it and you have to sew every part in it, but then later on it will be it will look much more symmetrical and clean. So this is why I do it. And again, we do like an invisible yarn in, and we go in, not in the stitch, in the top stitch from the fake double crochet, but right after the next one, and go from the front to the back, pull the yarn through, and then we are going from the top into that last chain stitch that we made. So we are basically recreating that whole stitch so that it looks completely invisible. And now we can take this yarn and sew it in slightly into our work. And again, make sure that you stab through those stitches and go a little bit forth and back. And we just cut it without cutting yourself and without cutting your work, basically. And this one here we can cut as well. So it basically looks like the smallest solid granny square that you would do, or second smallest. And now we can connect to whatever corner we want. It doesn't matter, since all of our corners basically look the same, and we have nice V's here on top, so we can easily grab those back loops. And this is what we do next. So I'm grabbing the next color. And now it's time to connect it. And I'm just leaving the yarn like this. I don't do any knots or something, because now we want to have 2 double crochets basically. So we are first, of course, making our fake double crochet, and I'm putting the yarn in like this and just make a slip stitch first. So I have it in there, and then I'm going to make a single crochet right over it to then go in the front bar to make my stacked double crochet, or the fake double crochet as you would like to call it. And then I can make my second double crochet all in the same space. Make sure to keep the yarn end near so you can crochet over it easily. And then we can continue now working in the back loops. And as you can see here, all the back loops are there, so it's very easy to get them. And we make our double crochets all along in the back loops, carrying that yarn end with us. And like that, the front part of the V keeps on standing there.
Hello.
One more. So this is how it looks. We can now leave the yarn end behind. We can just cut it afterwards. And we're at the corner, and we do it the same way as we did it before. We make 2 double crochets, followed by a chain 2, then 2 more double crochets,
Yeah. It's burn.
and then we go again in the back loops with double crochets
Just
until we reach the end of this side, or the end of, or until we reach the next corner, basically. And I'm going to fast forward to show you how to continue afterwards. So when you reach the end of making the second color into the back loops only, it looks like this. So the same like I did it here, of course. And we now continue like the regular ultimate solid granny square. So we finished the round by making 2 more double crochets into that corner space. We chain 1, then go into the top of our fake double crochet that we started the round with. Pull the yarn through, place your finger toe in here, and pull the yarn through, and from there you can continue making the next fake double crochet and have a regular round of double crochets, and we are also going right in. This first one is going to be a bit tricky. I can barely see it here. Here it is. And now you can also go again through both of the loops, basically. So I only take the back loop only when I use a different color than in the round before. Otherwise, I go as we did it before in our Ultimate Solid Granny Square tutorial. So once you then reach the next color change, you do it exactly like we did it here. So you cut the yarn off, sew in the yarn in an invisible way so you get like a full back loop, and then connect your yarn in one of the corners with the third color in that case, and start working along, and then only working in the back loops, and you finish it off with the round of single crochets and adding the hanger. And just like that, you get 3 different options of dishwash cloths made from solid granny squares. I think they all look pretty. I would hang them, all 3 of them, like they are. No changes required. And dishwashing will now be much more fun. Thank you so much for watching. Holly is here just for a second to say hi.
Honey.
Say hi.
Hi.
I hope you enjoyed to see how to make very easy, very simple dishwash cloths made out of cotton and made from the ultimate solid granny square. Make sure to also check out how to make the solid granny square. And we hope to see you again next time, only at the Totally Fierce Crochet channel. Bye!
Hello.